Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol,
Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol,
Bol
Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol.
Grihe thako bane thako Bol Hari Bol,
Tako Vane Tako Bol Hari Bol.
Grihe thako bane thako Bol Hari Bol,
Bol Hari Bol.
Grihe thako bane thako Bol Hari Bol,
Tako Vane Tako Bol Hari Bol.
कृष्णेरा संसार था कि बोल हरि बोल, कृष्णेरा संसार था कि बोल हरि बोल, कृष्णेरा संसार था कि बोल हरि बोल,
Krishna संसार Hari Bol.
कृष्णेरा संसार था कि बोल हरि बोल,
Krishna संसार Bol Hari Bol. Bol Hari Bol, 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 Bol Hari Bol.
बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल,
Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol,
बोल हरि बोल,
Bol Hari Bol,
बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल,
Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol.
असत्संग छाड़े भाई बोल हरि बोल, असत्संग छाड़े भाई बोल हरि बोल, असत्संग छाड़े भाई बोल हरि बोल,
Bol Hari Bol.
असत्संग छाड़े भाई बोल हरि बोल,
Bol Hari Bol.
बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल,
Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Hari Bol,
again.
Hari Bol,
बोल
Hari Bol,
only Nitai, only Nitai,
Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari
only
Bol,
Nitai.
Bol Hari
Now
Bol,
Navneet only.
Gaur Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol.
Vatsal. बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल आरव,
Bol,
only आरव, बोल हरि बोल,
Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol,
Bhuvan,
Bol Hari
very good. बोल हरि
Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol,
very good.
Bol
बोल हरि
Hari Bol, Hari
all together louder.
Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol.
वैष्णव चरण पड़ी बोल हरि बोल,
Bol Hari Bol,
वैष्णव चरण पड़ी बोल हरि बोल,
Vaishnava Karare Bol Hari Bol,
वैष्णव चरण पड़ी बोल हरि बोल,
Bol Hari Bol,
वैष्णव चरण पड़ी
Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol.
ए बोल हरि बोल,
Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol,
नित्यानंद बोल, गौरा 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 नित्यानंद बोल, ओनली विजय, गौरा नित्यानंद बोल, 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 गौरा गदाधर बोल, गौरा गदाधर बोल, गौरा गदाधर बोल, गौरा अद्वैतम बोल, गौरा गदाधर बोल, गौरा गदाधर बोल, गदाधर बोल, गौरा गदाधर बोल, गौरा अद्वैता 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 बोल, I'm not doing anything. बोल, गौरा अद्वैता बोल, गौरा अद्वैता बोल, गौरा अद्वैता बोल, अद्वैता बोल, गौरा अद्वैता बोल, नित्यानंद बोल, नित्यानंद बोल, गौरा गदाधर बोल, गौरा गदाधर बोल, गौरा अद्वैता बोल, गौरा अद्वैता बोल, अद्वैता बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, हरि बोल, बोल 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 हरि बोल. One more time without instrument. बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल. Translation please. Scroll down please. Can somebody scroll down please? Okay. Okay, no problem. Can you read the first paragraph? Louder in the mic. Maharaj, can we read? Okay, okay, it's time.
First paragraph, the translation.
Thank you. Love you all.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari. Jana Ballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari. Girivardhari. Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana. Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana. Brajajanarandana. Jamana Tira Vanachadi. Jamana Tira Vanachadi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari. Jana Ballabha Girivardhari. Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana. Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana. Jamuna Tira Vanachadi. Jamuna Tira Vanachadi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parividakacharya Astatara Satasi Simad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaur Premanandi. Fortunately, the air conditioning works. I remember one time we were here for a Thanksgiving event, and the heat didn't work. It was like being in India, when there's no central heating, and everyone had their jackets on and hats on, and they left their boots outside, but everything was very cold in here. So modern conveniences. We don't have to tolerate the heat inside, at least. So we can concentrate. This is part 3 from my participation in this topic. Discover your relationship with the Holy Name is the theme. And I'm going to do a little bit of a review because today's topic, liminal space, flows from number 1, flows into number 2, flows into number 3. So the first topic was called In the Beginning. And the purpose of selecting that title was a little video was put together of Srila Prabhupada speaking about how he started the Hare Krishna movement in the beginning. And it was just chanting. Prabhupada said a number of very important things. You know, very sweet, very concise, very important. The essence was creating an atmosphere of auspiciousness by the public chanting, and whether people would understand or not understand, etc., was not the issue. The issue was the presence of the Holy Name, creating an atmosphere of auspiciousness for everyone. And that's how the Hare Krishna movement began, awakening the dormant relationship with Krishna through chanting. We spent some time hearing some verses from our acharyas and from Krishna, specifically, well, on the car ride on the way over here. The verse from Rupa Goswami, Atakshi Krishna Namadi Na Bhaved Grayam Indriyai Sevan Mukhi Jiva Dao Swayamevas Paratyada. In simple terms, understanding Krishna is not easy, but it's made possible by service, Sevan Mukhi. Sevan Mukhi. Jiva Goswami explains that term. Sevan Mukhi means by the inspired service to the name. He jivada, starting with the tongue, where Krishna becomes realized through the medium of the tongue, etc., and the other senses, swayameva sparatyada, with the translation on the car ride. Realization comes to such a person. So, some of you are from India. Most of you are from India. There's a few of us that are not, from other places. But in your mother tongue, spurti may be a similar word. So spurti can mean that in that particular verse, one gets realization of the name. So we're chanting the name, but we would like to get a realization of our relationship with Krishna. Svayameva sparatyada, spurati, or can mean inspiration. And so I was describing that our acharyas use the word spurti commonly, more than otherwise, to indicate that Krishna may manifest himself. Like what happened with Dhruva. That's a spurti. Lord Vishnu appeared before him suddenly. It was very startling. And other examples. The Supreme Lord, by his reciprocation, is descending mercy upon a person who is very qualified, who is eager to have Krishna's association. He may give spurti, a moment's inspiration, his association. So, svayameva sparatyada. starting with service to the name, Sevanmukhi Jivadao, beginning with the tongue. And other senses, Krishna may appear otherwise also. In the deity installation ceremony for Rukmini Dwarkadish in LA, very memorable speech Prabhupada gave. One of the things that he said was, you serve Krishna very nicely with devotion. Krishna will accept that service, and one day he will speak to you. It's called the Spurti. One day he will speak to you and say, I am like this. Sevanmukhi hi jivadao svayameva sparatyada. So maybe that will happen to someone here tomorrow during our 64 round day. You'll get it. Krishna will reciprocate with your eagerness to experience and to realize your relationship with him, and he may manifest himself. Of course, if he doesn't mean you're in his disfavor. So, along with those many other verses, Rupa Goswami is describing the 9 stages to come to the stage of prema, 9 stages of bhakti, how bhakti begins and how it unfolds. We spent a fair amount of time on a verse that Krishna speaks to Udava in 11th canto, chapter 20, Udava Gita. Lord Krishna's explanation of the Vedic path is the title of the chapter. You might want to read it later. It's in the beginning and on the unfolding of the realization of Krishna. And so Krishna's, in this particular verse we spent some time with, there's 3 relevant messages. One was, when that faith becomes awakened, I'm repeating this purposely to help you for tomorrow, Jata Shraddha, awakened faith. Jata Shraddha. In that person, us, who has faith awakened by sadhu sangha, a natural bhakti product will come that one becomes or is uninterested, or not too much attached, not too much detached. Indifferent is the word that's used. Nirvina sarvakarmasu. Indifferent to the prior importance that's placed in worldly consciousness or material consciousness upon being in the enjoyer of the fruits of our work, or enjoying our senses through the fruits of our work, the medium of the fruits of our work, becoming enjoyers like that. One becomes indifferent, and we heard that indifference is essential for one to be able to exclusively concentrate. Now on my screen, which is different than this one, it's showing that same image of the devotee chanting and Prabhupada, the medium, and Krishna holding his flute, hearing our chanting, and he may give his spurti, to have us realize the name and he are non-different. We'll have to accept, notionally at least. We're going to hear this evening class how Bhaktisiddhanta describes how you get there, how that realization is facilitated. So that was part 1, or Friday evening. Then this morning, we discussed chanting from the heart. How do you do that? What does it look like? And unfortunately, what's on my screen is not in front of you. But there are times when we act from the platform of the mind, and times we act from the platform of the heart. And this distinction, acting from the heart means acting from a place of who we are. And who are we? We are eternal servants of the all-knowing, all-loving, and all-attractive Krishna. All-attractive Krishna. Krishna, the all-attractive one. And when we're chanting from that place, that's chanting from the heart. Place of who we are and who Krishna is. So now comes this one, liminal space. Liminal space means where we are, that's on the upper left, and where we want to go, it's on the upper right, and there's a big gap between where we are and where we want to go. It's very common in anything that you want to achieve. Supposing you're a young student, you have this vision that you want to become something. You want to become an architect, or you want to become an engineer, or you want to become a doctor, or you want to become a lawyer, or you want to become something. You want to become something. What do you want to be when you grow up? I asked a 6-year-old girl one time, it was very memorable. She was very attentive. Most little children are very restless. Very attentive. So at the end of class, just spontaneously, I turned to her, sitting right over here by my side. I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she said, a pediatrician. I said, wow, when I was 6 years old, I didn't even know what that meant. A doctor, maybe, but a pediatrician. She said, a pediatrician. And I said, how about a pediatrician that's always thinking of Krishna? She said, yes. So there's a gap between where we are and where we want to get. That space in between is called liminal space. I like the term. It's one of the reasons I like Sanskrit is there are many terms I don't know what they are, so then I have to learn. And then something fits in, then you hear more and more and more, and it starts to take on deeper meaning and so forth. I first heard this term liminal space used by Sachinandan Swami at a Japa retreat. And then he explained, because he's really good with English language. His English is sometimes better than ours, and it's not his first language. But it fits because it's not just, it's a Latin word. Limen in Latin means something in between this and that. Just like a carpentry term is a limen. When I notice as we walk in, there's the door between outside and inside, and beneath the door, there's a limen. It's neither inside nor outside. It marks the distinction between inside and outside. That's a limen. Or in architecture, I'm going to show you, well, here's a limen in architecture. It's neither outside nor inside. It's like a patio or a porch or something, in that's in architecture. So like where Hiranyakashipu was killed, that was a limen. Neither inside nor outside. So liminal space means to go from where we are to where we want to go. That's life. It's unfolding a present life. Bhaktivedaka Thakur teaches that one should be, on the one hand, very honest and realistic by introspection and assessment with scriptures, where are we on the path of spiritual life? And we shouldn't be complacent. We should always be eager to go to the next. Not artificially, but to be progressive. Because if you become complacent, then you won't go further. So you have to be a little uncomfortable, because liminal space is uncomfortable, generally speaking. Like, a classic is teenage life. It's uncomfortable. I mean, there's many contributing factors, But one of them is going from dependent to more independent. And the transition is uncomfortable. And you think there are many examples in life where you move from being single to married, or you move from being in home and in school, you go off to college, or whatever it is. No, there's adventure in all of those things, but there's some discomfort. So discomfort is not bad. Discomfort is a good sign, in fact. But then how do you look at that discomfort? You can look at it as something unwanted, so you just stay stuck. Or you can look at it as an opportunity or an adventure, and you go forward. And in bhakti life, good news is there's Krishna, and Krishna will help us. So here's the architecture image that's neither inside nor outside. There's books, there's sociology where they speak of liminal space. I'm going to show you two. Katie Miller is the author of one, How to Surrender to the In-Between. And a little subtitle is mine, Finding Comfort in the Not Knowing. She doesn't use on liminal spaces, but finding comfort in the not knowing. So there's, with pandemic has been like that, hasn't it been? You really don't know what's next. You make a plan, and then you have to cancel the plan because something changes. And so we've kind of gotten used to it because there's nothing you can do about it. It's just, there's been lots of unknowns. And the finding comfort in not knowing, here's an illustration. Being in a threshold of life is really about trying to give over our trust to the power of time, because time is going to make things change. Time brings things into being, time destroys things. And that's just the way it is. Time is very powerful. It's an instrument of Krishna. I made reference in the morning session, I'll make reference again. When the 20,000 kings offered their prayers to Krishna, they thanked him for having them lose their position as kings, because now they had Krishna's shelter instead of their position as kings. And before they were attached, but all that was taken away by Krishna's inevitable time. And now they were moving on to their next situation, was a life of devotion to Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundara Ki Jai. So, because it's the topic I chose to speak on, I'm giving examples of liminal space. Here's another one by Nancy Levine. Honor the space between no longer and not yet. And that's the cover of her book. So sociological persons use this term, or at least the concept, how to move from where we are to where we want to be. Now, sometimes we move to where we don't want to be, and it has everything, liminal space, transitioning has everything to do with how the mind is focused. And with chanting, it surely has much to do with how the mind is focused. Mankatenantaratmana, or maya sakta manak partha, or manmana babamad bhakto. Where the mind goes has everything to do with where we go. So in our Vedic text, we have the story of Bharat Maharaja. He transitioned from, a very glorious position as the king, emperor of the world, to becoming a deer. And he became very elevated during his life as a king, but he became so absorbed in the deer that he consciously, deliberately began neglecting his devotional practices. He became instead absorbed in the deer. And as we see from the illustration, and as we know from the story, at the time of death, that's what he was thinking of, was the deer, so he became a deer. And then when he was in the body of a deer, there's Bharat Maharaja reaching up, and there's the body of the deer. When he left his position in the body of a deer, he gave up his body of a deer while smiling broadly, saying, "All respects to Narayana the Lord," even as a deer. And so he became Vaishnava. He became a Brahmana. So transitioning has everything to do with where the mind is. What is the mind absorbed in? And that transition in time is called the sandhi. It's why sometimes in this city, the Ekadasi is on this day, and the city west of us, it's at an earlier date. Sandhi just means a juncture between one thing and the next thing. And when, like, for example, Yasyastri Sandhyam, we're instructed to offer these prayers to our spiritual master 3 times daily. Yasyastri Sandhyam. Or chant Gayatri Tri Sandhyam. And it's at a juncture. The juncture of night and morning, the juncture of morning and afternoon, and the juncture of afternoon and evening, or daylight and nighttime. So in the morning time, there's dawn, Arunodaya, Aruna, Udaya. The Aruna is a name of the dawn. And when the dawn comes, it lasts for 2 times 48 minutes, or 2 muhurtas. I'm making this point because it has everything to do with transitioning. So during Brahma Mahorta, there's 2 muhurtas, or 48 times 2 is how much? 96, right? 96 minutes before the sun rises is the period of dawn. And the first of the 2 muhurtas is Brahma Mahorta. And Brahma Mahorta is scripturally, the best time, just like tomorrow is Ekadasi, and it's a very auspicious time for any spiritual activity. And Brahma Mahorta is especially auspicious for any spiritual activity. So I hope you all take rest nice and early, so you can get up nice and early, so you can get a good start on your 64-round day, and for sure, try to be attentive, especially attentive during Brahma Mahorta hour, because it's the best time for spiritual practice. Now, here's another example. There was a festival in Japan. This was the title of the festival, Liminal Space Time. Interesting. This is an artist who created a photograph that shows liminal space time in his own creative way. It's a sheet of something that's translucent, and there was wind blowing, so it's moving. So that's the air and space and time, and it's the juncture. It was exactly the title of this art exhibit. So my point is, in summary, liminal is something that's used in culture, social, and personal transformation. And in our case, it's in relation to spiritual transformation, or transforming from the head to the heart, or from mechanical with feeling, chanting with feeling. Now, trying to get there can be a little bit mechanical, especially in the beginning. The idea of transformation takes place even within species. A classic example, it's written directly in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita purport, is the caterpillar moving from a caterpillar to a butterfly. And at least, I don't know how it's understood, but the caterpillar or the living entity that's crawling sees things that are flying and wishes to fly. And so somehow nature has it. They build themselves a little cocoon, and then emerging after some time from the cocoon is the butterfly. So we're not getting direct vision of Krishna or having a realization of Krishna's form, his qualities, his pastimes, and all of those things. But if we're hankering for that and aspiring for that, to go from where we are to there can be uncomfortable, but it's a transformation that begins, for us, it begins with the chanting of the holy name. This is that same verse again, Atakshi Krishna Nabadi Nabhaved Grayam Indriyai. So beginning with Krishna's name, we can have an opportunity to understand the transcendental nature of Krishna. Now this verse is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We're going to see it again just now. Here's the verse. Atakshi Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grayam Indriyai Sevan Mukhe Hi Jivadau Swayameva Sparatyada. So Spurati, there it is again. The translation, Prabhupada's translation, it spontaneously appears. Krishna and his names cannot be grasped by the material senses. But when a person develops the tendency to accept the Lord's name, tendency to accept the Lord's name form, Krishna then spontaneously appears on the tongue. Spontaneously appears. Now, Jiva Goswami, in his commentary, I'm going to go through the words. Sevan Mukhe. Sevan Mukhe, he writes, it means inclined to accept the Lord's name and form. Inclined to accept. Now, more commonly, it's our understanding, with the way that Prabhupada has explained it, is it's rendering service starting with the name. Jiva Goswami is very specific. Inclined to accept the Lord's name and form. And Sevanmukhi, he, H-I, indicates accomplishment. And he gives an example to show how the name of Krishna appeared spontaneously, spurati. The name, the prayers that he used to recite in his previous life as the king, appeared in his mind. That's a spurati. Thereafter, the king of elephants, Gajendra, fixed his mind in his heart with perfect intelligence and chanted a mantra which he had learned in his previous birth as Indradyumna, and which he remembered by the grace of Krishna. So a spurti, or this, like the opening image, in that big gap between where we are and where we want to go, Krishna's there to help us transition. In that uncomfortable space, if you don't have absorption and faith in Krishna, it remains pretty uncomfortable. I mean, you can still get there or strive to get there, but it becomes wonderful, a wonderful experience while being while there's uncertainty, that Krishna is there. And Krishna will help you make that transition successful. So why did this mantra that he chanted, is actually a series of prayers, why did it appear in Gajendra's mind? Because in his previous life, he had practiced and practiced and practiced. He made an offense, he became an elephant. In his elephant body, he wasn't remembering his life as a king, but when danger, life-threatening danger came, there was no other shelter. Spurti, the Supreme Lord, appeared in his mind, spontaneously appeared on the tongue and in his mind. And he began to offer these wonderful prayers. Yeah. So that's what happened here also. Bharat Maharaj smiling broadly, he thought of Lord Narayan. And so when he thought of Lord Narayan, what does that mean? Lord Narayan was there and helped him make that transition. Here's a nice set of prayers from Bhaktivedaka Thakur, prayers on the holy name, Namashtaka. There's 8 ashtakas, or 8 sets of prayers of 8, found in Gitavali. Gitavali means a collection of songs on the holy name. And so in song number 6, he writes, Vacho, Vacha, O Vachakadvi, Sarup Tamar. Vacha Tava Sri Vigraha Chid Anandakar. It's a nice painting. It's Krishna looking at the polished floor in Dwarka and seeing his own reflection and becoming charmed by the beauty of that reflection. The translation is, O Lord, you possess 2 transcendental forms, properly called Vacha, that which is nameable, and Vachaka, that which denotes. Similar to Nami and Nama. Nami, that which is nameable, the object, and Nama, the name, or Vachaka, that which denotes. The Vacha is your beautiful personal bodily form full of transcendental knowledge and bliss. That's what Krishna is seeing, looking at his reflection in the floor. And he goes on to say, the Vachaka forms are your holy names, such as Sri Krishna and so forth. Thus, appearing in the form of transcendental sound vibration, you are the resting place for the bliss of all souls. Here's some nice teaching from Bhagavat Sandarbha. I like Jiva Goswami. I'm a Jiva Goswami fan, I confess. But Jiva Goswami writes in Bhagavat Sandarbha, he's describing Krishna's Shaktis, one section. One whole Anucheda is on Krishna's Shaktis. And principle of Krishna's Shaktis are his own personal Shaktis, or Swarup Shakti. And when Krishna appears, he appears with his Swarup Shakti. It's not separable from him. Like the energy and energetic are not separable. So we can give nomenclature to the two, Shakti and Shaktiman. They have names that identify the two, but they're inseparable. Like sun and sunshine, they're inseparable. So when Krishna appears, he appears through the agency of and in the companionship of his Swarup Shakti. And when that appearance of Krishna in the form of sound, then that's the name, and it's the scripture. Let's remember this, because this is the third time I've mentioned this, so I don't mind mentioning it again. The Jata Shraddha is awakening of an attachment, awakening of an attraction, an attachment for the messages of Krishna or the name of Krishna. And that sound, that's attachment to Krishna. Because Krishna, when he appears, as we saw Krishna appearing in the reflection in Dwarka, that's his personal form. That's the Vachaka. But then there's the Vacha, and then there's the Vachaka, the sound. That's his form of transcendental sound vibration. Then he goes on in the song, at the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, Bhaktivinoda begs for constant loving attachment for the Vachaka, or divine holy name of the Supreme Lord. So transitioning, or the liminal space from where we are to where we want to go, includes some of this, recognizing Krishna can and Krishna does appear in his full spiritual form in the holy name, and appealing or praying along with Bhaktivinoda Thakur at the feet of Rupa Goswami for loving attachment. But supposing you just chant and you don't have such a heart, from the heart appeal to Rupa Goswami and those who are lovers of the name, it'll take a while, or it'll remain dry or mechanical. I mean, I'll give you a little, statistic here. As a traveling sannyasi, I meet lots of people. And one of the top 5 questions is, how long will it take? I find my chanting after some X period of time to be still mechanical and distracted. What do I need to do to get? So this is the liminal space topic. Why I'm presenting it. So it may help you tomorrow and going forward in time over the next so many years to chant nicely with absorption. Here's another one of our acharyas, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he explains this absorption in the holy name in a very nice way that I like. It's taken directly from a letter that he wrote. And I'm just going to read it because it's so nice, so comprehensive about chanting. The name of the Lord and the Lord himself are not 2 separate entities, but one. When the sound of the holy name passes over the lips, the conditioned sense of hearing and the conditioned consciousness initially processes the sound as if it were material. And that is how it is perceived. As a result, only the external ear hears it. Paragraph. Since the other senses and the mind, which is the collector of sensory experience, are envious of the ear, which they consider to be an equal partner, the result is that such chanting does not affect the cleansing of anarthas. There was some discussion about yesterday evening about cleansing of anarthas and how long does it take. As long as it remains in this external material sound conception, cleansing of anarthas is really slow. Paragraph. This is important, listen. We do not have the capacity even to theoretically know that the name and the Lord of the name are one. Yet, just as piercing of the ear is one of the Vedic rites for a young child. When our spiritual ear has been pierced by the holy name, the other senses give up their envy of the auditory sense. They no longer quibble with the ear, which alone can perceive transcendental sound. Then the flood of prema pours forth from all the spiritual senses and cleanses away all the contaminants of opposition and malice. Paragraph. Thereafter, the Lord's beautiful form, this is Sparatyada, the Lord's beautiful form, qualities, associates, and pastimes are revealed in the name Himself with a capital H, and experienced by the chanter as something quite distinct from his previous experiences in the mundane world. Then the kinds of worries and distractions of the mind that are typical of the conditioned living being cannot remain. Final paragraph. When we learn to hear as we chant, the opportunity to remember Krishna will automatically arise. At that time, Krishna Lila Smarana will become possible. Remembrance of Krishna's pastimes spontaneously arise, Spuratyada, within the mind. We don't need something separate. There is no need artificially to try for it, but we should constantly pray to the holy name for his mercy. Beautiful, huh? So the part specifically is the ear can conquer the mind. When we're hearing, the emphasis is not chanting, of course chanting, but chanting done properly is when we're hearing the chanting. There was some discussion about numbers and quality and quantity and all of that. The essence is hearing. And the term that Bhaktisiddhanta used is the spiritual ear. What's a spiritual ear, anyways? It's a concept that both he, Bhaktisiddhanta, and Bhaktivedaka Thakur speak about. Here's the physical body part called an ear. Supposing something breaks, the auditory capacity is still there. One can still respond to sound that just doesn't. So body parts can be changed out, but the power of hearing, even that's a subtle power of hearing. That's one of the knowledge acquiring senses that's still in the subtle form. The spiritual ear means the covering becomes spiritualized. And that comes from using a phrase that Prabhupada uses, ardent hearing. Tomorrow, when you're chanting, and when you get up first thing in the morning, hopefully early during, or even before Brahma Mahorta, so you're all ready for the Brahma Mahorta hour, 98 minutes before the sun rises is when it starts. Lasts for 48 minutes. Be aware of the value of that time, and for that matter, the whole of the day, the Ekadasi day. Get enthusiastic because it's an auspicious day, and we need all the auspiciousness we can get to absorb ourselves and hear that sound vibration. Making the sound is one thing. Hearing attentively is another thing, because often we're distracted. The hearing is distracted because of other activities within the mind. And so the Maha Mantra plays its part in our spiritual life. So now we're back to the topic itself, liminal space. And there's a connection. Oh, on the left side is some gears, so it makes it look like it's a mechanical, you do this and you get that and you get that and you get the next thing. And it's not quite like that. How it works is more like this. The effect of making the connection with Krishna very clear. In this painting, the medium, the via medium is the spiritual master, in this case, Srila Prabhupada, because this is my god sister, Sinkandini. She joined the Hare Krishna movement in New York. So I know her from New York, and then moved to Los Angeles like many devotees did to work with the press. But connecting with Krishna through the sound vibration of his holy name. Now it's a journey. You remember from before, this process of bhakti itself and chanting, part of the process is an ongoing journey. And sometimes tomorrow and in the following days and weeks, you may be doing better in your journey or not as well in that journey, but you keep going because there's the bhakti path. The bhakti path, by good fortune, has Krishna appearing at the center of that bhakti path. If we carry forward with faith, Krishna may appear. Swayameva Sparatyada. So that's our topic. Discover your relationship with the holy name. Some concluding remarks. By cultivating our connection with Krishna in his vachaka form, gradually and naturally, we will be invested with a potency which will touch and transform the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected ways. There was a question earlier about seeing the results in the workplace when everyone is celebrating, and how do you handle that situation? If you're carrying within your heart a sense of being connected with Krishna through his vachaka form, the heart then becomes a medium to transmit Krishna. It's just like that. As I mentioned, I'll say it again. When Krishna blessed the 20,000 kings to return back to their kingdom, although they felt relieved that they were no longer enamored by the position of being a king, he sent them back to become kings with the service that you carry forward the bhakti that's in your heart and you transmit that to your subjects. 20,000 kings times all their subjects. So let's take a look at this again. Guess what? It's the same message. By cultivating our connection with Sri Krishna in his vachaka form, gradually and naturally, we will be invested with a potency which will touch and transform the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected ways. The graphic doesn't show up so well on that screen. It shows up really great on my screen. The movements of those lines. And final slide, guess what? It's the same message. By cultivating our connection with Sri Krishna in his vachaka form, gradually and naturally we will be invested with the potency which will touch and transform the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected ways. We become better instrument of Krishna. In other words, you receive and you give, and that's our Krishna conscious process. And as you give, it assists you receiving, and as you receive, it assists your giving. And that's our life. It's our relationship with Krishna. And welcome. Krishna's there. We didn't see him on the path before, but he's there. And there's Govardhan Hill in the background, and Krishna, he'll take us, he's inviting us to Vrindavan. Let's go. Simply through the chanting of Krishna's holy name. So that's the liminal space topic. And I want to be respectful of the schedule that we're supposed to keep. We have a little bit of time, and then we're going to end so that Amritananda can do the Sankalpa exercise and helping us to assimilate messages that you've been hearing throughout the day. The schedule is pretty packed. So can somebody knows how to turn the light on in the room here? Can turn the light on? And somebody that wants to take the microphone around can get the portable microphone. And we'll see if there's some discussion. By the way, the discussion sessions have been really nice. So I'm looking forward to another nice discussion session. You've been a very good audience. Compliments.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Maharaj,
You're right behind the light and I can't see you.
okay.
Either move the light or move yourself.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Maharaj, thank you so much. This was really, really nice. Maharaj, about the Bharat Maharaj slide where his attachment to the deer, it just transferred him into the body of a deer. I mean, along the journey where, as devotees,
Along with what?
along the journey of being devotees, like in that process, we become attached to people, and we become attached to our parents or our children, our spouses and friends. And those attachments might be with devotees.
Good. Make sure Krishna's at the center. That's the trick. You're human. We're not supposed to be inhuman. We're not supposed to be stones or I don't care. I have no affinity for anything. That's not the goal. It's just not healthy.
Yeah.
But strive to make those Krishna-centered more and more as life unfolds.
And Maharaj, there was a comment that it was my realization from the slide you showed 3 times at the end, where when our connection with
Where what?
our connection with the name of Krishna, the Vachaka,
Yeah.
is strong and pure, that shows like the person is more receptive to our emanation of Krishna consciousness. And I've seen days when my chanting is nice, the people who I share the message of Krishna with are way more receptive. And
That was pretty ecstatic. You said something magical.
And I'm now realizing that it's because the instrument, me, it depends on my purity as well, and not just the other person's receptivity. And my connection with Krishna, if that is strong.
Speak slowly.
If my connection with Krishna is strong, then I will be a good instrument to pass on Krishna's mercy to somebody else.
Okay. Whoever's in the sound room, can you fix the ring back? It's a little oppressive. Makes it hard to hear. I'll do, while we're waiting for them to fix the sound, I'm going to share something else. Some time ago, I had more discretionary time than I have now. And when I had more discretionary time, I tried to use it nicely. So one of the things that I invited devotees to do was to make a sadhana report. For their benefit, not so much that I needed some more service, but they would send me their sadhana reports like once a week or once a month or something like that. And their observation, those that actually did it, were very clear with what you just said. On a daily basis, if their sadhana went nicely, their day went very nicely. If their sadhana was interrupted or distracted or disturbed or something, the day was like that too. What to speak of, longer periods of time than each day. It's a fact, our acharyas say, and it's an observation from those that keep track of these things, that there's a direct correlation between the worldly part of your life and the daily sadhana practices part of your life. One expands into the other, or vice versa. If it contracts, the other becomes more disorienting and more of a struggle. No surprise, so Krishna says it in Bhagavad Gita. Daivhi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam eva ye prapadyante mayamitam tarantite. So that's a nice verse. And then to live it, we can, as Prabhupada calls it, Vigyan. Realized knowledge. We can realize it's true on a day-to-day basis. It can even happen in the course of a day. I remember very clearly in days when book distribution was like everything for everybody. There was one very talented, skilled book distributor. I won't mention their name. So it was decided that we would follow around. There was like 6 or so of us following behind or along with this one devotee. And this one devotee, every single person they approached said no. And then they turned to us and said, I'm too much attached to the doership conception. I'm simply now going to pray to Krishna. And everyone said yes. I mean, it didn't have to happen that way, but it happened to happen that way. And it was very clear that the moment-to-moment experience of depending upon Krishna has its impact upon others, like those last 3 slides. That was the same message. It's an important message. That's why I said it 3 times. Okay, anybody else would like to contribute something?
Maharaj, I have another one. If there's nobody.
Yeah, who has it?
I have it, Maharaj.
Who, somebody else wants to speak something?
I don't see him.
Take them. You're going to take the microphone?
Okay.
Better raise your hand because he doesn't know who to bring it to.
Okay. Hare Krishna Maharaj. When you were reading the letter from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Swami Maharaj, there was a phrase about how spiritual ear is pierced by the holy name itself. So that caught my attention. So just by chanting, just by chanting itself, it helps us to get to that stage.
Of course. Will Krishna help us get to that stage? Is your question?
No.
That's not your question? What's your question? Say it slowly and clearly.
Yeah. So the spiritual ear, remember the preface was that if you only hear with the external ear, then anarthas are not cleansing fast enough.
That's what he said.
Yeah. But then if you hear with spiritual ear, the cleansing will happen. So the spiritual ear will be pierced by the holy name itself. So my understanding is I don't need to do special endeavor to engage my internal anything spiritual ear or anything like that.
Slowly. You don't have to do what?
I don't have to do any special endeavor to hear properly with spiritual ear. But
try to hear, that's correct. But if you're not hearing with your spiritual ear, something else is going to happen. Distraction is going to happen. If you are hearing with your spirit, if you are hearing with your spiritual ear, it means that that distraction will subside, because you won't be seeing yourself or the name as something material. If consciousness is covered, self is, and the name is in the same category as material. So it's cleansing. Another phrase that he uses that a devotee was asking about was effacing. You remember that one? Yes? Bhaktisiddhanta, for those that are not familiar, Bhaktisiddhanta uses this phrase. He uses phrases that are interesting because you're not used to hear. What does effacing something means? It's a common use that I'm aware of is when coins rub together, the distinctive marks on the coin, the face and the coin becomes effaced. It becomes just a sheet of a coin of metal without distinctive marks of the date and whatever else is the message on the coin, just by rubbing together. So Bhaktisiddhanta uses that phrase. By continuous chanting, the covering becomes effaced. Now he says it a little bit differently, but that's that's the essence of what he's saying. So that's also on the other side is then the spiritual ear can hear. So until we get to that spiritual ear stage, we're faithfully chanting less than perfect. We're faithfully chanting in the Abbas stage, the less than perfect, then Shuddha Nam stage. But when there's Jat or Shraddha, there's faith, Shraddha, in that process of hearing spiritual sound, the activities of Krishna, the form of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, etc., the name of Krishna, then the effacing, the spiritualizing of those coverings will enable you to hear with a spiritual ear or spiritually hear. So attention goes to hearing. Does that address your question? Go ahead. You got the microphone.
Thank you. So is this same thing as understanding the real nature of Krishna and then understanding my relationship with Krishna and being present with the holy name? Is it a similar thing?
Yes. Take it to another context, and that's this deity worship context. Because some devotees really like deity worship, and Krishna really likes devotees that really like deity worship. So such devotees have a sense that the deity form is not just a statue or an idol or something material. Although others may see in that way, the devotee doesn't see in that way. And so they serve their deity in a very personal way. And they become attached to the deity in a very personal way, and the deity becomes attached to them in a very personal way. And the deity will, in the deity's own way and manner, etc., reveal to the devotee that they are personally accepting their personal service. There's many nice stories of not just, storybook stories, but modern Hare Krishna devotees that have experience like that with their deity. Not only the deity in the home, but the deity in the temple. Like Prabhupada said, you worship Krishna nicely, and one day he will speak to you. And he will say, I am like this. Now, what that's going to be like may be a little different for each person. So now go back to the name. And that the name in this little letter was to understand with our present faculties that the person and the name are non-different is not within our power, but it can be revealed. Swayameva sparatyada. Unto such a person who has accepted Sevanmukhi hi jivadao. It's a very nice verse. So the realization, what you're saying is correct. You're just saying, in other words, what these messages our acharyas are presenting to us. And it's a relationship. There's something that we do, and there's something that Krishna does. That's a relationship. And he's not obliged because we do. He's got that's not a relationship. He's not our order supplier. But he'll do because he's loving. And he'll help us according to our, his desire and our desire and the relationship. And the good news is he's very loving. And the form of the Lord in his name is most effective compared to any other manifestation of the Lord that may come. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam, here's Bhakti Siddhanta on this topic. You got me going here. Chanting of the holy name, this is a strong point. Chanting of the holy name is not only the chanting of the holy name, but it's also hearing Hari Katha. Just as we don't worship Krishna alone, we worship Krishna with Radha. We don't worship Narayan alone, we worship with Lakshmi. We don't worship Ram alone, we worship with Sita. So we don't worship the name alone, we worship with his Surup Shakti, the scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam. So we hear Srimad Bhagavatam and chant the holy name, but they become revealed to us, as he wrote in that letter. Krishna Lila Smarana awakens from the chanting, along with our affinity for knowing what the Lila are from hearing Krishna Lila or Krishna Katha. The doorway, the entryway into realization is Jiva Dao, starting with the tongue and the ear. That's our bhakti life. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. This is taking that same topic and looking at it from different angles, understanding the science of how it works. And so once we have an understanding of the science, then what? We apply ourselves to get realization from jnana to vijnana. Practical knowledge. Anything else? Yes, I see some hand up.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I didn't understand actually what is higher, like holy name or Krishna's form.
I didn't get it. What's your question again, please?
Which one is which is more higher?
Which is higher?
Which is higher, Krishna's name or Krishna's form?
They're equal. They're not higher or less high. They're equal in height. The merciful nature of Krishna's name is greater. That's the teaching. He reveals his form through his name. And thus the name, although they're equal in height their merciful nature of the name is greater. It's like Lord Chaitanya and Krishna are the same, and Lord Chaitanya is Mahavadanyaya, because he's giving love from Krishna. Krishna himself giving love for Krishna freely. Like that, to equal. But the merciful nature of the name is wonderful. Go ahead.
So with the help of holy name, someone can reach form, Krishna's form, right? So holy name is the medium to reach Krishna's form and Krishna's darshan.
You can think of it that way. With your hand gesture, it's as if the form is something out there, and then the name reveals the something out there. So with your hand gesture, that's not a proper understanding. The proper understanding is the name has form. And the form of the name is revealed through chanting and hearing of the name. And thus, the form of the name is revealed through attentive chanting of the name. The qualities of Krishna, in addition to the form, are revealed within the name. The pastimes of Krishna, it's more than a sutra, it's very compact. Everything is within the name. Not reveals the name, reveals the form. Like it's something out there. Okay? It's transcendental. Our minds are not going to easily process that because it's transcendental. But it's to be realized by one to whom Krishna reveals that, who approaches the bhakti process with faith. You approach Radharani with faith, and that can be revealed to you. And to others, it's a notion.
Like now, my question is regarding deity worship versus chanting of holy name.
They go together. Don't separate them. But supposing somebody doesn't have a deity and they have the name, that's sufficient.
If someone has less,
They're not bereft. If they just, the 6 Goswamis, they're all perfect devotees. Only one amongst them did not have a deity. Raghunath Bhatta. The other 5 had deity of different names and forms, etc. But for him, Raghunath Bhatta, Lord Chaitanya gave the reciting of Srimad Bhagavatam as his deity. He didn't have an Ishtadev in the standard form of deity. It was the sound of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Was he deprived?
Srila Sanatan Goswami.
What?
Another question. Like
Yeah.
Srila Sanatan Goswami, like when I forgot the name of the deity.
Madan Mohan?
Yes. Madan Mohan ji, when he wanted to come along with Sanatan Goswami, I think he said that, oh, I live under a tree. If I carry you, then I have to feed you. You will ask me sugar. You will ask me salt. Then I am a sannyasi and I live under a tree and I have to write books. So then, and he was chanting Krishna. So should I assume that he has? Correct me, Maharaj, if I'm wrong. Right? Should I assume that he is less attractive for deity worship, or because he's engaged in service of writing scriptures and chanting holy name?
I got about 50% of what you said. So I couldn't follow. I can't say, just everything was fine, or he had great devotion, and because of his great devotion, Madan Mohan wanted to be worshipped by him. And they had an intimate relation where they would talk with one another and so forth. But that's Sanatana Goswami. And he didn't spend although that was so intimate, he did many other things besides that, in service to Lord Chaitanya, in service to Madan Mohan, in service to the Vaishnavas, in service to the Dham, in service to the mission. He did many things. But it didn't take away from his love for Madan Mohan to do those other things. Now, I don't know exactly what you were trying to express. You're looking at correcting the history of that relationship between him and Madan Mohan?
No, Maharaj, I got it, because they have intimate relationship. So that's a very different level.
Okay. I can't follow. I'm sure it was very wonderful, whatever you said, but I didn't catch it all.
Now I got
Yeah.
relationship with Madan Mohan and another.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Anybody else would like to contribute something? All the way in the back, come forward.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I'm just continuing what Mataji asked. So you were saying like Nam is more merciful than Roop. So also you were mentioning that Mahavadanyaya, Mahaprabhu is more merciful. Is that means we should be chanting some Mahaprabhu's mantras as well?
Well, that's recommended. When we begin chanting, that's recommended.
So that is only once in one round, right? So
Well, there's no rule like that.
So what do you mean? No rule.
When it's recommended, keep it simple.
Mhm.
It's not rule oriented. It's heart oriented. And when you begin, before you begin, your heart goes to your spiritual master, and you can say his pranam mantra. Your heart goes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You say the Panchatattva mantra, and then you speak the Maha mantra. Now that's standard. It's not a rule of how many times and before in between each mantra or anything. There's no rule like that.
So is there any other mantra for Mahaprabhu where
It's
since he is
recommended.
more merciful?
Yeah, keep it simple. It helps. He will help you overcome the tendency to be distracted and the tendency to make offense. He's most merciful, and he'll help you. Just take it like that.
Okay.
It keeps it simple. Don't become so rule oriented that it loses the devotion. You're not trying to do that. I'm just commenting like that because I'm speaking like this because I've heard devotees get over fastidious about that kind of procedure. Understand that he's merciful and he'll help you in your relationship with Krishna. So yes, you say the Panchatattva mantra audibly and call out his name with that feeling. That's what's important.
So when you're saying audible, is that means like
Yeah,
loud?
you're calling him.
Means outside, not inside.
Huh?
Means that means it is audible to person sitting next to us. Is that what you mean?
No, so you can hear.
Yep.
So you can hear, audible.
Fine. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. It looks like we're ready for Amritananda's session. Are you ready for your session? I mean, it's a little bit early, but that's okay. We can, I don't see any more questions. So let's give Amritananda the microphone.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj. This is going to be interactive, and I'm going to invite our dear Prem Kishore Prabhu. So both of us will do this in tandem. And the objective of this exercise, last evening, this morning, and now, His Holiness Romapad Maharaj has shared from the scriptures his realization, question answers that we have. So what we're going to do is, there are different things that each one of us, it may have struck us. So we'll try to bring it all together. And when I say it's going to be interactive, it's not just Prem Kishore Prabhu and myself are going to be talking. We'll hear from you, and then every one of you, what are the realizations you'd have on that? And the whole goal of this exercise is that tomorrow when we come in to do our 64 rounds, this thing goes a little deeper into our consciousness, and it just doesn't remain here at a mental level. Prem Kishore Prabhu, you want to go with the first one?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Amritananda Prabhu. And thank you for Guru Maharaj for these 3 wonderful sessions. So as Amritananda Prabhu said, please digest this very clearly, that the whole goal for this next 15 minutes, it's only like a revision or hit the key points so that we can have a wonderful journey of our Japa for tomorrow, 64 rounds. And it cannot be end with 64 rounds also. If anyone is more enthusiastic, as Guru Maharaj said, you can start in Brahma Mahorta prior to sunrise of 96 minutes, if anyone can. Again, it is all your bodily, whatever you can afford for, right? So we'll start out. The Amritananda Prabhu, let us we can talk to each other so that other can chime in, right? So
Okay, we'll talk to each other, and then what we can do is we could just pick up somebody.
yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So the top of the single purpose, what I got, Amritananda Prabhu, is to please Krishna. When we pick up our bead bag, that's the intention. So what is it for you, Amritananda Prabhu?
I think you're asking me what was the most impactful for me.
Yeah, what is the topmost? Yeah.
I like very much, and that, how do you say, sunk deeper, what Romapad Swami Maharaj said. We are not able to call out with complete attention and surrender because of false shelter. And that resonated a lot with me. And all these years trying to concentrate on Japa, but you know how our mind runs. My mind runs here and there. And it was something like a light bulb went inside. That why? I think I'm asking for help seriously. I'm trying to do this, trying to get up in the morning, also have a shower. At times I've had even a cold water shower to be alert and attentive, but it's a struggle, you know that. But this thing was the key, false shelter. And it's all on my ability. I think I'm praying well. I think I'm doing all the right things. I. So rather than simply just surrender that I'm nobody, I'm so insignificant, and in a little way I'm trying. So that really went very deep, and I have a few rounds. So when I get back home, I'll do it in that mood. And of course, tomorrow, looking forward to 64. What about Mataji's?
Thank you. Anyone want to chime in? Rishta? Yeah. Because
Hare
Prabhu, can
Krishna.
you take another mic?
For me, I think for the chanting message that really struck me was, Krishna, I want help to reestablish the relationship that I forgot between you and me. And that really helps me stay away from distractions, because sometimes I go into a thank you, Krishna mood for my pleasure. So if I'm happy, I'll be like, thank you, Krishna, for the happiness. And that's very selfish. And if I'm distressed, I'll be like, Krishna, please get rid of this distress in that mood. So instead of that, I've started, Krishna, this is just a plea to help me reestablish my forgotten connection with you that I forgot, but you want it, and I'm now wanting it. So please just help me. And I know this is the way, so just help me fulfill the way properly.
So you can add one more before Vilas Manjari picks up. When we offer our soul, our very self at the holy name in a mood with complete surrender, with the crying out to accept me when we chant, that will help me at least. This is another takeaway, second one for me. So you can add, Vilas Manjari.
Yeah, the points that touched me were like yesterday's point, like Dhruva's mom. I really love the way this is in context of embracing Krishna at times of helplessness and powerlessness. So you repeatedly quoted Dhruva's mom, appreciation towards her for when Dhruva came rejected and vulnerable and hurt from his father. He went to his mom, and mother directed to Vishnu, pointing out that he's the only shelter. And even Pandavas, Narada told Krishna that you took out, their kingdom was taken out, their wife was destroyed, but still they strengthened their connection with Krishna, even in spite of going through all those struggles. So I want to become aware of that even when I'm vulnerable, even I'm in that liminal space, when I'm feeling discomfort, usually I take false shelters, as it was pointed out by Amritananda Prabhu, or I distract myself doing something temporary, like, for example, talking to somebody. Like, it's not completely Krishna shelter. So I want to become more aware that Krishna is my only shelter, even in my vulnerability. I want to embrace my vulnerability and discomfort, because in today's class, Maharaj said it's okay to be in that liminal space and discomfort. So I want to become more and more aware that that can also be normal. And I want to take shelter of Krishna like how Pandavas did and Dhruva did. I want to try at least. So that's my takeaway from this seminar. Yeah, I want to be more comfortable with my powerlessness and helplessness and discomfort and liminal space zone. Thank you, Hare Krishna. And take shelter of Krishna.
Anyone else want to pick up before Amritananda? Radha Mataji? Sorry to pick you up, just like we just concluded our interactive session, so that way.
Okay. What really touched my heart is accept me, Krishna. Like however I am, you're my only shelter. So that's the mode which I would like to chant with tomorrow. You want me to repeat it?
Can you repeat? We couldn't get it,
Okay.
Sorry.
I like the slide that please accept me, Krishna. You're my only shelter. So this is the mood I would like to chant with tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept me. I'm your eternal servant. Oh, my dear Krishna.
Thank you.
Rimkishore Prabhu, question for you and everyone else.
Yes, Prabhu.
Now, we've received information, and information is meant for transformation.
Yes.
So
Gyan
there
to
is-
Vigyan.
yeah, that's how it is, right? Information is meant for transformation. Otherwise, it's just sitting in our head of what use would it have been. So Maharaj gave us such nice information. Now we take it back home. It's not just for tomorrow's 64 rounds, but in our day-to-day practices going forward. So what it is you think that we could do to bring about this transformation based on what Maharaj has given us, and then even little things that we do in our day-to-day practice. So how would you 1 or 2 points, and then we can ask our devotees, Prabhus and Matajis, what they would be doing with this.
It's a good execution point which you're bringing in. So as Maharaj said, it is Gyan to Vigyan, right? Like what we heard, how to have it in a spiritual practice. If the question is what it would be, how to nurture, go forward approach, not only tomorrow, go forward. One thing I would say, the priority should be given to chanting. And preferably, as we just learned as well, Brahma Mahorta time is more auspicious. That should be the goal. Now that is number one, where we can at least start during the time, if we can conclude, depending on your schedules and all. That is my priority, Amritanand Prabhu. And the second one, which assists me to do that, is I don't do any other activity other than chanting in the morning, except like I serving Guru Maharaj today morning or whenever he's there. No other work will be done without chanting.
Nice, nice. So perhaps we can ask, Prabhu, I do not know your good name. What is one thing that you could do that Maharaj shared with us, and one thing that you can do to internalize it? What, if you could share with others, please?
Hare Krishna. So I always feel very comfortable when chanting, like especially when I feel little discomfort, I pray to Krishna that who am I? I'm such a fallen soul, and you are giving me a chance to utter your holy name. So you are so merciful, Krishna. So at that time, my mind changes, and again I can concentrate more. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that, as Maharaj said, when we when we completely depend upon Krishna, hopelessly call Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate. So I have seen that, and definitely whenever my mind gets distracted, I will pray to Krishna that you are so merciful, Radharani, you are so merciful. So kindly bestow me some mercy so that I can chant better and I can do it more. And one more thing I want to add is that like a couple of weeks back, we did in the park 64 rounds of chanting. Like we thought to do something more than 16. That was the aim. And we did 16 and then did 32, and we came to, and some other devotees came to my house, and we completed 32, and we did 64, and someone did 100 also. So the point I was trying to stress is that after doing this so many rounds, so from the next day onwards, it was feeling very comfortable. 16 was like a nothing. I mean, like, so I was not satisfied by doing 16. Let's do it more. Let's do it more. So that was the feeling I was getting. So from tomorrow, 64 rounds chanting, it should be an inspiration for all of us that we need to do more and more and more. So we should not stop that taste at 16, and we need to relish it and enjoy it, the Krishna's name. I mean, he is so merciful, and he wanted us to give that opportunity so that we can chant his name. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you could please tell me your name, it'll be more personal.
Sankarshan Das.
Huh?
Sankarshan Das.
Thank you, Sankarshan Das Prabhu.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, thank you. So the other thing that Maharaj shared with us was not doing it from here, the mind, but from the heart. So what does that mean to you, doing it from the heart? And how could you do something from the heart? Chanting. Prabhuji, Mata.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yeah, what I heard from Maharaj, like we are using brain also and heart. So I was just meditating on that. We are chanting for ourselves, for cleansing our heart actually. But what I feel after initiation, I always think for others. So I just go out and I chant for other living entities like deer you saw in our backyard, right? And squirrels, or sometimes I look at the trees and they are just standing so long in snow, rain, in fact. So I want they listen that words like Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and they will get. So if we'll do from our heart for them, they will also sometimes they will get some mercy from Krishna and they will also get next life, maybe like human being or other next upgraded life. So I feel like that we have to think from our heart for other people, living entities, even trees and air, all these microorganism and all that. So I feel like that.
So that's a very nice thought, Mataji, and I'm just taking it a little further. Is what you're talking about is something like compassion for other living entities when you're chanting. And it's something like trying to save somebody else. But then for a person like me who's already drowning, I mean, I need to be able to save myself because before I can go and save somebody else who's drowning. So for a person like me who's drowning, what it is you think that I would be able to chant in a manner from the heart and not just mechanically from here, from my mind, Hare Krishna, but from my heart, actually feeling what that meaning, hey Radharani, engage me in his service, actually feeling that. So yeah, it's good what you're doing, you're feeling for somebody else, but I'm drowning. So what would you suggest? Or Mataji also has.
Every morning, I usually use Rampada Swami share 5 prayers that I use every morning to remember the significance of mantra. And in addition to that, like we're saying to chant from the heart, you actually chant for Krishna, to connect with Krishna. And Sachidananda Swami suggested very nice prayer, and I chant it every morning. Oh dear Lord Krishna, I have forgotten you, living in this world for long years, but today I'm back. Please accept me. Please allow. I thought I will forget that. Okay. Please allow me to serve you in love and devotion. It's something like that. I right now forget.
I get it.
So you every morning I connect with Krishna like that, and then when I chant, at this point I'm using my realization where I always remember that everything that concerns me in this world is temporary and it means not important. So I remind myself, if I all of a sudden want to do it, go ahead and do something, it's really not important. It's a secondary importance. So I connect the heart with the practice, actually. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So it's you have a personal dialogue before you start your japa in form of a prayer. Thank you for that, Mataji. Thank you. Yes, Roshni.
Okay. I think, so the question is, how do we actually like chant from the heart? Like actually have like, we have the actual feeling, not just say that we have it, but really experience it. I feel like there's really like no set answer. Of course, like we can focus our mind on Krishna, and that's a beautiful, thing to do. But sometimes I think for people, it's like, okay, what does that mean? Like we hear that a lot, but it just doesn't like register. And people can give all sorts of advice and stuff, and it's like, I think the one thing for me is to just be like, hey, like, I don't know what it means to accept that, like, I don't know what it means to put my focus on Krishna. I don't know what this japa is going to like bring into my life, like, or what that feeling is actually like, rather than like trying to do all the math in my head. So I think just being like, Lord Krishna, I'm here to revive my connection with you. And I don't know where that's going to take me. I don't know what that experience is going to be like emotionally, physically, psychologically, but I'm here and I'm open. So that's my take. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So what I understood, Mataji, is that you're acknowledging there's not much I know, but here I am. And is it something like, make me an instrument, or like how Prabhupada prayed, you know, whatever you want to do with me, do it. In that kind of a mood, and you think that's where we'll be doing it from our heart? Okay. This Mataji had a question, then Prabhu, we can come, realization, we can come to you then.
Actually,
Mataji, if you, the red mic, hold it a little close to your mouth, it's a little soft.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna. Now you can hear me.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, basically for me, chanting from the heart means like putting my emotions, whatever it may be, negative or positive, everything, into the holy name. It means like when chanting, whatever emotions come, just throwing out to Krishna as if it is like showers of rain or whatever it is. It's yours. I cannot do anything about it. It's all yours. Even it might be because of my karmic reactions, whatever it is. Now I want to surrender to you. Like, just raise up your hands and say it's yours. And when I continue to chant, it's sometimes it's difficult, but still every day when I continue to chant like that, slowly Krishna starts to appear out of the holy name. Like, yes, I'm here for you. I'm here. And then what happens is, after the 16 rounds, the last few rounds are like really so sweet that I can feel that I have advanced a little further. It might be a real mustard seed of thing, faith I got on Krishna or the holy name. So I feel so happy and blissful. So I sleep very nicely. The next morning is again a fresh day for me to start chanting the fresh rounds. So in that way, my emotions, my feelings, like that, heartful connection with Krishna actually happens. So Krishna's holy name actually gives Krishna's presence in my life, actually. I can feel tangibly, actually.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So in regards to chanting from the heart, the message, the last message about please accept me, sums up everything for me. Like Yugal Pritimati was saying. So what I understood it means is understanding, investing my consciousness in the chanting, not just mechanically chanting, just hearing, number one. Number two, understanding my position, real position right now, how I'm suffering in the material world, how I've been away from Krishna, understanding my position, understanding Krishna is my real shelter, and then requesting him back again, please accept me, my dear Krishna, I went away from you, please accept me. So investing consciousness that way, with my relationship in the forefront, that's my understanding of chanting from the heart. I don't know if you want, I can share my take-home message also, or later on.
Yeah, please. I'm still trying to grasp, Prabhu. I can understand what you're saying, but if I were to do that, Prabhu, it would come from my heart, my mind, brain. Yeah, I won't really feel it. So my struggle is, how do I actually come? Like it's the right thing and it's the right mood. How do you say? But how do I let it go deeper in my consciousness, my heart? What do I do?
Wonderful. For me, when we hear regularly and read scripture like Srimad Bhagavatam, then we can appreciate the miserable condition I am in, and we can appreciate the wonderful nature of Krishna and the need for his shelter and need for going back in his relationship. So basically hearing and scriptural study will deepen my understanding and realization of these things. That's my experience. Of course, I have a long way to go, but that is a starting point for me.
So get to know a little bit more about Krishna and read, do your other sadhana also, and that would help it internalize it or get it from the heart. Thanks. Time check, Prabhu. What is our...
Here, we
have
can
some
end
time?
in with, actually, I'm already kind of excited. Vallabhacharya Prabhu already started out for tomorrow. So you want to share your experience, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Prabhu. So when you take mic, then you cannot tell 100% truth. So, so on the mic, people are only, I don't know how much percent, but I cannot take 100% truth. So chanting by heart, I don't know even difference between mind and heart. So how I can differentiate when I'm chanting from my mind or chanting from my heart. But these things I'm not hearing first time, that we should chant from the heart, or you should wake up in the early morning and do the chanting. These things we are hearing, I think, from whenever we join from the ISKCON movement. First things we are hearing that you have to chant by your heart, chant in your early morning, but we are not able to do it. So the thing is that these all things can only come by the mercy.
Thank you.
Trying by my endeavor, I cannot get this. So this can only come by the mercy. And for getting mercy, first we need a Vaishnava's mercy. Then I need my Guru Maharaj mercy. And then definitely when we have your Vaishnava's and Guru Maharaj mercy, then you automatically get Prabhupada mercy and Krishna's mercy. Or for getting mercy, you need to do service. You need to please. Without pleasing, you cannot get mercy. So bottom line is that chanting from my heart is so far for me. First, I need mercy. For getting my mercy, I need to serve. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Very good point on mercy. So thank you, Amrutan Prabhu. Anything you want to add as last?
Maybe one last point. The last point is right now, everything is feel good, right? It's still fresh in our memories. And we'll go home tonight, think about it, sleep over it, come back tomorrow, do 64 rounds. And the prayer is that it really improves our consciousness from where it is. Now, let's do this day after tomorrow or sometime next week or next month. It's an ongoing process. Maharaj explained, whatever we do from an heart is an ongoing process. It's not an event. Event has a start and an end. It's an ongoing process. So if there's a reversal, huge reversal, God forbid, you lose your job, you're laid off. Some reversal, or like Maharaj's experience, he was coming from Chicago to Chicago from India, and the plane engine blew up and everyone kind of panicked, but Maharaj remained calm. And his instruction, the message which came, is even reversals could be used in Krishna's service. So if you can just think a little bit ahead, and there's a reversal, either personal, professional, family, whatever, in your life, what is it that you will do to maintain this level, or even cling on harder to doing it properly? Japa, doing Japa properly.
Just remind yourself it's temporary.
Sorry?
Just remind yourself all this is temporary and it's going to get better. You are distracted right now, but in a few more days it's going to get better. Continue praying. Pray to your spiritual master, pray to Srila Prabhupada, pray to Rupa Goswami. Just don't stop praying and everything will go back to normal.
So
the
being
co-
optimistic.
COVID made like any disease could cause
Yeah.
this reversal, like you're not really focusing when you're chanting, but then it goes back on track, and then you hope that with the time you will still be gradually elevated more and more on a more higher platform of consciousness. Even that reversal will not stop that process. So yeah.
So two things I got from that was you depend more and be optimistic that things will get better.
It's continuing,
Okay.
it's gonna be better.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you all.
Hare Krishna.
Few minutes, we will kickstart with the Kirtan after like 2-minute break. If we can take a break for 2 minutes and again come back. Kirtan will be led by our CNJ youth. And soon after that will be at 7:30, we will serve prasad, okay? So get ready for tomorrow and encourage other devotees who couldn't come today for early morning japa for 64 rounds tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, tomorrow there is a session again early morning to kickstart, to give a head start. Basically, who couldn't start the early morning japa at 8 o'clock from Romapad Swami at 8 o'clock, okay? The flickering mind. So it will be a short lecture. Then soon after that, you can resume your chanting.